I hope my screen is visible. So today we have one of the most qualified people to tell us about this, and that's Vedant Ghodke, who's a second year who's a third year E&TC engineering student at our college. And he's the most qualified person because he's currently an incoming technical undergraduate intern at Cisco. And now I'll just give you a brief introduction to his numerous achievements. So to begin with, he was the youngest patent filer and holder from VIT, and he did this right in his first year. Then next, he was a ex-artificial intelligence and data science summer intern at Microsoft India. He also led a team of more than 20 people for a Government of India sponsored project on autonomous vehicles. Then again, he led a team, and this time it was the micromouse path planning robots for an Amazon warehouse at Purdue University. Another achievement of his was that he was the youngest office member to build and demonstrate an API development and its integration with the SAP software. Now, this SAP software is a business resource management software, and this too he did in his first year. Then he again led a team which was shortlisted by the Government of India for the national rounds of AICTE, and this project was dedicated to blind people. And his most recent achievement is he's the co-founder of NetMints India, which offers digital business solutions. So now I'd like to ask Vedant to take over and continue with the presentation.
Yes, thanks a lot, Varun. I'm truly humbled by your introduction. If you would allow me to present my screen.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Just give me a sec. I hope my screen is visible.
Not yet, Vedant.
Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So a very warm welcome to all of you. Today I take this opportunity given by Professor Dr. Shreyaskar ma'am, Professor Dr. Bhatlavande sir, and I'd like to guide you all to the path to unraveling the world of off-campus opportunities. Now we see that there are a lot many companies that come to our campus that come to different colleges. You all might be from different institutions, and you might be applying to these companies, but somehow you feel that you are missing out on the factor of those big FANG companies or product companies that you need to crack in order to feel good about, or feel that you are at par with the industry. And that's why let's begin our presentation with a very important quote that might inspire all of us. We all know the famous quote, opportunity knocks your door only once, but in some cases if opportunity doesn't knock your door, it's a wise decision to build a new door and take it to the opportunity. That's what I had been pursuing since my first year at VIT. It's quite fortunate to have a great faculty who made us aware about the situations in the industry. They pushed us to go to this situation, and that's why we have achieved what we have today. Now let's look at today's agenda on what I'll be guiding you all with. First, we would be identifying what off-campus opportunities are, what are off-campus opportunities, how to get to know what off-campus opportunities are open, when are they open, etc. Second thing, which is the most important part, is the modeling of your CV or resume and your LinkedIn profile, which play a very important and a vital foundational aspect for your off-campus opportunities. The third is developing your aligned skill set and focused preparation. So I'll be guiding you a bit upon how you could crack the coding test, how you can work ahead in the technical rounds, how you can sharpen up your skill sets, and how you can stand apart from the other audience that's already applying. Then you all know that we have been in the pandemic situation since the year 2020 now, and it's been more than 1.5 years. So the entire process for most of these big product-based companies or any other big company is mostly virtual. So I'll tell you about how the virtual interview process works, what all happens. how is the interview process conducted in these companies, etc. Then I'll be giving you a brief about my Cisco internship interview experience. So I'll also tell you about what preparations I did, how I approached Cisco, how Cisco, how the process went, and how I was offered the offer letter for the internship. And then we'll have a Q&A session. So now let's begin. Every time you must have heard the quote from Alexander. You must have heard the quote, very famous quote, that before you start chopping the tree, spend 6 hours, sharpening your axe if you are going to take 4 hours to chop the tree. And that's what this thing actually implies. The study of role and organization you're applying to is the most important and the most vital aspect about applying to any off-campus opportunity. Now, let me give you an example. There are two organizations, say Cisco and there is Goldman Sachs. I had applied to both of them. So what study or what difference did I find in the roles and the organizations? At a very basic level, at the grassroots level, we can say that Cisco is a product-based company and Goldman Sachs is a financial company or a fintech company, right? So first thing that you do when you are applying to any company or organization is you explore the organization website for open roles. Each of these big companies has a specific career page that is to their own, you can simply Google out careers Goldman Sachs, careers Cisco, etc., and you will get the website for those different companies. Now, in my case, I Googled careers Cisco. I found out a few open roles that were applicable for 2022 pass out, since I am passing out in 2022. And I applied to those roles. You have to fill in all your details, that is whatever you have done, your CGPAs, then your passing out years, what all activities you have done, your internships, your languages, etc. And the most important thing is that you then assess the industry or the domain of the organization. Now, Cisco is mainly a product-based company. That is the domain of the organization. But what does Cisco actually do? So Cisco basically is into networking products. You all know the famous product of Cisco, that is WebEx. But we hardly know any networking dedicated products of big companies, and that's why you need to study the organization in detail. That plays a very important role in the upcoming resume or the review rounds, interview rounds as well. You also need to know the technologies and the tech stacks this company is involved in. That might also help you while explaining your projects as well. I'll give you an example in the upcoming slides where how it helped me in my Cisco interviews, and we'll be looking forward to the application process of these companies as well. So now let's see the first and the most important step of your resume and the LinkedIn profile. So the very most important thing is that if you are maintaining a single copy of your CV and you're applying with the same CV for all the companies, you're doing a big hazard at this stage. The important reason behind this is that you need to align your CV in relevance to the role and the company in which you are applying to. Let me give you an example. In the second year, I had applied to a company that is Microsoft, and I had my resume aligned so that I had all the projects inclined towards artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, etc., which I had highlighted on my CV. And that helped me a lot because the position that was open was for AI and DS intern. Now, say, also given a few other interviews at college, for example, Infineon Technologies, which is also a big semiconductor manufacturing company, that if I had done my artificial intelligence and data science projects, then it have made no sense because this company is solely into embedded manufacturing, embedded system. So then my CV doesn't align with the requirement of the company, right? So you need to align your skills as you need to market yourself in such a way that you are aligning yourself to the open role. Now, what should you look for? Or if I'm a recruiter, what would a recruiter look for in your CV? So first thing is that how well is the CV laid out? How well it's spaced? How clear is it to read? And how non-verbose it is? The most important aspect while modeling your CV is to keep it concise, is to keep it obvious, and to keep it non-verbose. The most other important aspect of your CV is to quantify your quantify the work that you have done in terms of the business value. Now, let me give you an example. Say there are two people who are applying to Cisco for the role of, say, a software development engineering intern. That is the role I had applied to. And if two people have said that they developed a website as a third year project or a second year project, right? So how would it differentiate the two people from each other? How would you differentiate that guy A has a much better project portfolio as compared to guy B? So then you need to mark it out on your CV saying that I built a website, or a website was built using this technology, and is now live with this number of user base. That is, say 3,000 people are actively using your website. So you should mention the amount of people who are actually accessing it, the technologies you used, how you built the website, and all at the same time while keeping it concise and non-verbose. That's a very important aspect, and that's why you need to learn the art of building your own CV. Then the most important part of your resume comes your project details and technology stack work that you have done. So let me tell you about this. When you mention your project, it's always the best to always include links that give proof that you have done your project as well. That is, you are the sole owner of that project. Even though it's a group project, you somehow maintain documentation for your individual level that you were a vital contributor to this project. And how do you do that? You provide supportive links to your projects, that is, such as your GitHub repo, which solely belongs to you. You include those links. You can write indent those links and you can put them in the corner, so that any recruiter whom you share the soft copy of your CV with, he can simply click on that. He can see that, oh, when had you contributed, say 22nd of May 2022. He gets to know that, oh, you had just edited this out yesterday, so you are actually taking efforts. Or he can also see the version history in which you have done the work. So that gives a sense of accomplishment to you as well, that yeah, all the projects that I have on my CV are actually done by me. I do have entire knowledge of what I have done. Now, there is quite an important point to certifications. I know that since the year 2020, we were in the pandemic, and we were quite fortunate that our college also gave us access to free certifications on Coursera. But the most important part while adding certifications on your CV is that you add only the value add certificates. If you have done some course from Udemy that was only 8 hours course and it didn't mean much to you, or it was not a very important course and that didn't add value to your CV, don't add it on your CV. Add only the top 3 to 4 certifications which you might think might bring in value or might differentiate you from the people you are applying with. Okay. And now let's see how the LinkedIn profile and CV can be merged together, or how they can be related together. The first and the most important aspect is that there are many resume building sites today that are available. For example, Enhance CV, there is Roboto. At the end of this session, I'll also be sharing a resume builder site that I have built myself, which I used for applying to these companies, and turns out it helped me a lot. So I'll be sharing it with you guys as well. You can try it out. So what importance does a resume and a LinkedIn profile carry? First of all, your resume should be ATS compliant. And what is an ATS compliant resume? That is automatic tracking system. So what happens is that when you feed your resume in the form of a PDF or a docx file, the softwares are so designed that they fetch out keywords from the CV. For example, education, experience, etc. are those keywords. And then they try and fetch out the information below that with the help of titles, your experience, your year, what role did you play over there, etc., and fill out information. There is a very famous website called as Work My Day Jobs, which is used by all the big organizations for applying. And if you have seen, you can upload your CV over there up to 5 MB size, and it will fetch out all the important details from you for the CV, and you can apply very easily. So similarly, your CV should be ATS compliant. You can use any of these softwares, and make sure that your CV is always up to date before applying. You keep updating your CV after each of the activities. The reason behind this is that we, being at such a wondrous college, we keep doing activities that add accolades to our CV constantly. Therefore, it's quite important that we update them in the CV before missing out on any of them. You never know what might be a deciding factor at these big companies. So make sure and keep all these points in mind regarding to your CV. Now, if you are not very well versed with designing your own CV, or if you don't know how you can, actually design your CV, or what all should I put, the best way to do this is through a LinkedIn profile. Now, what a LinkedIn profile does for you is you have your own photo, you have your title, so it gives the first basic idea about what you are doing, how you are, where you are stated, where do you come from, etc. What's your organization currently. Then there's also a part for summary. The summary part gives you a chance to write about yourself in brief, or in very precise words. So you market yourself over there, that what you do, what what are your aspirations, what have been your important goals in life, etc. And then you can add the important points, such as your current company or your current role. Say you are a student, you can add it in your education. Now the beauty of LinkedIn is that after you add all of this, you can export your profile to a PDF. You can see three dots in the corner, and you can export it to a PDF. And what would happen is that you would have a resume ready made, which would be ATS compliant. You would have an industry standard resume with all the links, etc., to whatever you have done, and you can simply use this CV to be uploaded to the companies. So that's a very important way. If you are not able to write your own resume, or if you're not able to know how to format your own CV, you can do this with the help of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a Microsoft owned software, so you can very well be sure about your all the important information to be uploaded there. It won't hamper your privacy in any way. So try out LinkedIn. You try to network with important people. Now the importance of LinkedIn over here is that there are many recruiters, university specialists, APSC hiring heads, etc., who are already on LinkedIn. And you might see that once you start connecting with the people, you might see that these are your suggested connections. So what I would suggest is that even though you are in your first, second, or third, or fourth year, and you are not eligible to certain job opening that they are posting on LinkedIn, just message them out, which is called as a cold message. Just reach out to them, get to know when are the openings of these organizations. Many of the times these recruiters might respond to you, and they guide in a very nice way, that they tell you that, oh, okay, you are from second year, so this opportunity might fit you very well. You can apply in, say, July, when the opportunity opens. And many times they will also guide you to the technical people who might give you a referral to apply for these internships or open opportunities. I'll talk about referral in the upcoming slide, so that we are clear about this process. Now let's come to the main important point about developing your aligned skill set and focused preparation. Keep in mind that all goody with the resume won't help you get hired into the company. What comes after the resume screening is the very important round of coding, or the aptitude test as well. So let's look at the skill development part, which is a dire need in today's era. So the first important thing that you need is ability. So if you don't have the ability to align your skill set, or get to learn the things that have been presented into the job description of the given role, you should not apply to the company. That is a very important aspect, because the skill development that you have done does not fulfill the requirements of the company, and therefore you won't be proving as a valuable employee to them. The next important aspect is growth. So you should always be looking out to learn more things, grow yourself. The most important part of growth is in every aspect possible, and not only in a singular channel. Don't be narrow-minded while learning. Learn all the things that come your way. You'd never know. We've already seen big surprises with terms of pandemic as well. Many people had to completely change the paradigm of their careers, shift to different industries, and we too can be multifaceted with our skills, so that we can apply to different roles as well. The third is advanced training. So comes related to skill development as well. But we do have other courses as well, from where we need to apply to different parts of advanced learning processes. There is Udemy, there is Coursera, etc., from where you can do advanced training. You need to just upgrade your skill set. Don't do it for the certification. Try to learn from those things. It might help you a lot. Then comes knowledge, which is quite obvious. It's a very important aspect. You need to have the knowledge of all the things that you are applying for. Then comes the learning. As I said, you need to have a great learning curve. And the most important part is competence. Now, competence can be measured in terms of two things. So one is
Excuse
technical
me,
aspect,
Vedant.
is not aspect, like your behavior. Talking about,
I
yeah.
hate to interrupt, but your voice is breaking a little, so you can turn off your video to save bandwidth.
Oh, okay. Just give me a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Now let's talk about competence. As I was saying, competence is how you fit into into the organization that you're applying to. How competent you are to work in the given environments, in the given challenging situations, etc. And the last and the most important thing is your experience. What the experience that you gain from all the skills that you have developed truly helps you in the entire interview process. The entire interview process in itself is an experience for you, and you learn a lot from that. I'll be telling you in depth. Now let's see how you can align your skill set and focus your preparation. So the first important aspect while applying to any of the bigger companies, any company in any domain, is that you must have a good grip on at least one object-oriented programming language and one scripting language. So object-oriented programming language is a very high requirement for business, and a scripting language such as C language, etc., is also required in semiconductor companies, VLSI related technology, etc. So you need to have a good grip on all of these. You can learn them from different resources. I'll be talking about that. Then you should be very well versed with data structures and algorithms, and also OS concepts. So now it never does any harm to learn a few extra things. I know OS won't be required in all the companies that you might be applying to, but you never know that while explaining a certain project, they might ask you that, oh, what all OS did you test your project on? Or did you test it out on Linux? Or did you do some important implications of this? And why does it work only on Linux and why not on so then you can give example about how this only in Linux and what are the reasons behind that, what are the important aspects, etc. Then comes the most important part about different problem solving scenarios. So the key aspect cracking any coding round is to determine the pattern of problems and do problem solving according to that. Say you all might be practicing on competitive coding platforms such as LeetCode, HackerRank, HackerEarth, etc. Or even CodeChef these days. So what would you do in these terms? So it's very important to recognize the pattern of problems, and these platforms give you a great chance to recognize that pattern. So you know that divide the problem into three parts, read the question that is asked, read the test case scenarios that you need to run, always go through the sample input output that is given. That always gives you a good guideline, and never leave the question half read or unread, assuming the things below. Read the question top to bottom, take your time to understand the question, build your own algorithm, dry run your code first, and then only you start coding. That's the most important part of that. Now, another aspect, as I said, is awareness of technologies that the organization engages into. Like I said, Cisco, we all know Cisco only because of WebEx, because that's the main product that Cisco has given to the world. But Cisco is doing a much larger work in networking technologies with upcoming technologies such as Cisco Silicon One, Cisco Meraki, etc. You all might not know, but Cisco was one of the first chief companies to host Linux, because it was the only company who had the infrastructure to host Linux and test it out. And therefore, Linus Torvalds approached the founders of Cisco in order to test out. So Cisco can also be considered as the first testing environment for Linux. Then you come to practicing of skills for competitive coding techniques. Now, let me be very frank. I'm not a competitive coder. I wasn't a competitive coder, but these interviews made me practice the competitive coding skills. I'll tell you the reason behind that. Whenever you start coding something, you also need to understand what effect would it have on the memory, what effect would it have on the time complexity, the cyclometric complexity, etc. How many loops you're using. For example, you can write a code for generating a Fibonacci series or printing a Fibonacci series in n number of ways. You can do it via iterations, not iterations. You can do it via different loops. But the most important part is that this is the most efficient code that you can write, and that's the key aspect of you getting selected. You might be able to pass 11 test cases out of all the 11 that were asked, but you might still not get selected. The reason behind that is you are not practicing the best coding practices. What do I mean by best coding practices? You maintain comments for your different codes, functions that you have written. You name the functions in such a way that they can be, the code can become reusable by any other person who is trying to use your code. That's the most important aspect of it. And I'll give you a short trick over here. Whenever you are, approaching the coding test of any of these big companies, what you should focus on is the code diff part. That's the most important part, because the companies have done a great job giving you the skeleton of how you should write your code. They have also given you what function names they're expecting. They've also given you what variables are there. Now the only part that remains with you is to actually do the code within those functions, and that's all. If you do that and run all the test cases, you might be able to crack the coding around in the GFE. So that's the most important aspect of it. And the last and the most key aspect is what business model the company is following, and what are the latest tech updates of the organization. So you all should be aware about the latest turnover of the company, how many employees are there, what were the acquisitions or the mergers that happened of the company. Very important key aspect. Now, I have been aware about the interview process of all the FANG companies. I've also been aware about the interview process of fintech companies. But one thing that came out quite as a unique experience for me while giving out an interview for Cisco was a dedicated round for the knowledge of Cisco technologies. So I'll tell you in depth about this when I tell you about my Cisco internship, interview experiences. So you all should be aligned with your company. You should actually start behaving as if you are the employee of the company, and you get to know about the company in depth as much as possible. Let's see how a virtual interview process works. So I guess that we all have people from first to second year as well. So those people not be aware of the internship process or the interview process. So let me tell you the first important aspect. The first is resume-based screening. So you apply on the careers website of these big companies. Your resume gets screened. So around 50% people are chopped off or axed from there itself. So that's how important your CV is. If your CV doesn't carry any value, you might not be able to attempt any other coding test, etc. Because that's every round is an elimination round over here. Okay, so next is an MCQ plus aptitude plus coding round. Now in terms of Cisco, I had two coding rounds, that two questions for a coding round, along with a few aptitude questions as well. That is MCQs, and you have to attempt them in a time of 90 minutes for Cisco at least. Now, for other companies, it might differ. All of these might be jumbled. Sometimes it also includes verbal ability, etc. But more or less, the structure remains the same. Then comes the first technical round. So, in the first technical round, you are asked your knowledge about the different technologies that you have been using for your project. So that's where your project comes. The biggest, your asset is your project. That's how you can crack the first technical round with ease. Now, what all you need to focus on? So, in the technical round one, they might ask you, tell me about this project that you've done. So, the most important aspect about this is the use of the word I, the focus on the word I and not we, because this is not an HR round where they are testing you out for being a team player. They're testing out your individual contribution to the project, what you did, what values you brought to the table during this project. So be proud about the work that you have done, and the most important, be honest and transparent about whatever you have done. Say you have worked on a very small part of the project, but the project as a whole was a big success. Tell them that I did this work, I was very proud of this. I did this part from this part to this point, and I was very happy to be carrying this rollout. But never use the word we in this technical role, because that might show that you always took help of someone else. You weren't an individual contributor, and you don't have confidence in the work that you have done. And if you do everything well, you'll be transferred to technical round two. And in technical round two, you might have a very important role about answering all the technologies that you have learned in. So they generally ask you about what are most important, or what your favorite programming languages are. So you might be able to answer, say, C++ or Python. Then they might give you a very important problem based upon your favorite programming language and how that can go on. So the technical round two generally differs for different companies. Make sure you and the HR round. what an HR round actually tells you is what they test out over here is how behaviorally good you might fit into the company. What how is your attitude? What is your ability to work under pressure? What are different? So basically, the HR is very easy to not only a workaholic person, but also is the people you are working with. So that's a very important aspect. And the last
Vedant,
and the most important is
Vedant,
letter.
we are receiving, please, Vedant, I'd like to interrupt. We are receiving many complaints that your voice is breaking. Can you just check your connectivity, Vedant? So that.
Yes, ma'am, sure. I'll have a different connection.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, it's
Varun,
improved.
can you confirm?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you for taking note of this. Okay. So let's continue. I hope you guys can ask me questions during the Q&A if you missed out on any point because of the voice issues. You after the HR, as I said, they test out EQ in this, and then they give you the letter. The jubilant part in your entire educational process, because receiving an offer letter from such a big company is a very important thing. Now let's look at a few key points. First of all is to make use of Notepad or Google Docs for coding practice. Uh, I'll tell you, during many of my internship rounds for the interview process, virtual interview process, I was asked to open Notepad and write down the code in Notepad itself, or even on Google Docs where you share your screen, where none of the technologies like IntelliSense or autocomplete features, etc., make sense in these rounds, because you have to write down the function names, variable names, syntaxes, etc. on your own. The second and the most important part is to ensure that there is no latency in the thing. There is no latency while you are talking. So you might notice sometimes that you are speaking and your voice reaches say 2 seconds after you have spoken. Your recruiter or your interviewer starts responding and you start speaking in between. So try to take a note that your latency, you have addressed all the latency beforehand. The most important point in any interview process is to think loud. Now, what is of any interview process is that coding, you should be able to think out loud. That is, you give out, you tell what you are thinking, your etc. And that gives very upper hand to you during your interview, because your interviewer knows what you're thinking about. He might be able to guide you, give you guidelines during what you are presenting to him, and he in the end you might crack the solution of the code in the way he was expecting you to be. And fourth point is about presentability. So what presentability seems is it implies that always be dressed in crystal. It's a very niche point that you never need to be dressed in formal required that they judge you on. But mind you, they always keep that in mind while applying to these internships. That what was your first impression in front of interviewers, or so that's a very important aspect while applying. Now let's take a look at the virtual interview process. First thing is that when applying to any internship, you should always practice a mock call. Take your parent, take your friend, etc. Sit them down in front of the screen, ask them to join a meeting, and give them a few questions about the virtual interview and how to take interview, so that and record this meeting. Okay, recording and listen to this meeting later on. You know what mistakes you did in this meeting. Next, keep the equipment that is required ready beforehand. That is such as the cameras, etc. Then, as I said, always dress in crisp formals. Find a quiet place to sit, and always keep notes / paper or pen ready with you. What that would help is that if there is certain calculation that needs to be done in a needs to be done in a very short amount of time. You can always do it on pen and paper, and you can find out the solution in a short period of time. So I guess these were the prerequisites about how to apply for an internship, or what an internship interview means. And now I'll tell you in depth about my Cisco internship interview experience. What you see on the screen, this GIF, is one of my first digital swags that Cisco has sent me, and it's two things that the game is really about to change. So what do I mean by the game is about to change? Because Cisco has always been a company that looks forward, or above the horizons about the newer technologies. It also looks into what is the requirement, today's requirement, and has been addressing these solutions in some time. So now, how did I apply to Cisco? Now, the very important aspect about applying to any company like Cisco is to read about what it is into currently. So I read about the Cisco website a few months back while I was applying, and I came to know that there are several new technologies that are on the brim of being declared to the world, such as Cisco Silicon One, Cisco Meraki, etc., which are very important products that are coming. Now, we all have been using Cisco Packet Tracer, Cisco WebEx, etc., which are important technological tools as well. So you need to be aware about all these tools before. So I read about all these tools on the website. One important tip that I would like to give all the people present here is that never read any third-party websites or third-party blogs, etc., about a company. Always refer to the official documentation that the company has published on their website, because that is the authentic information that the company vouches for. Now, the second important aspect is that always explore the careers page. The careers page gives you a plethora of opportunities that are open in the company, right from the internships from second year, third year, then the last year internships. There are a year-long internships. There are SD, that is software development engineering opportunities. There are hardware internship opportunities as well. Try to find out the role that fits you the best, that suits you the best, and what you should do is explore more about that role. So there one tip over here is that every role that any of these big company publish on their website always comes with a unique job ID. So try to explore with the help of that job ID what more can you find out. There are many people. For example, I might give an example of Mr. Arsh Goyal, who has a very dedicated channel on YouTube where he talks about internship opportunities at these companies. And these guys explain it to you in depth about what all is expected in these companies, how you should apply, or what are their expectations, etc. So make sure you also read the JD in depth and listen to these guys before taking a decision to apply. What happens is that once you are into the company's notices, that once your CV, your name goes into the database of the company, that means the company has taken note of you. Now, if you think that, oh, I didn't get a response from the company 2 months down the line after application of internship, and that's why I now assume that I won't be selected, you are doing a big mistake assuming this. Let me tell you an example. One of my friends from our college itself, he had applied to Google in 2018. Okay, and during that, recruiter contacted him saying that there are no open opportunities. It was a no email, as you always get, that your CV didn't match with us right now, and therefore you won't be offered this job or internship. But 2 years down the line, they had his CV, and there was an open role with which his CV matched to, and the recruiter contacted him himself saying that, oh, we found a right opportunity for you at Google. Would you be interested in giving the interview process? And that is a aha or a wow moment, which happens where Google or these big companies themselves contact you for an interview. That's a dream from another world for many of us. So keep in mind, when you're applying, give your best in each of your applications. Even within the company, say I'm applying for an SD role, I'm giving a different CV which matches with the SD role. If I'm applying for an embedded role or a networking role, I give a different CV for the networking role, which focuses more on my projects in that aspect. The reason being, though the company is the same, the recruitment team, the recruiters, the team with which you would be working with is completely different. One team might be in San Jose, one team might be in Bangalore, one team might be in Delhi, etc. And not necessarily they circulate your CV with each other in order to get to know what this person is about. Now, that was my first round of application. Second, what happened was that recruiter from Cisco contacted me on LinkedIn saying that my my resume had matched with the SD role at Cisco, and would you be interested in giving the further interview rounds? So I of course said I replying with a no to this answer would be extremely foolish. So then I said that I would be going ahead with the interview process, and that's when the process began. So my first round was the technical coding round. As always, it was given on HackerRank. I cleared the technical coding round. I guess if I remember it right, I had passed 9 test cases out of 11. So I was still not sure about if I would go through this first round, but I guess I followed all the things that I shared with you guys, that I maintained a good coding practice in the course, and that's why I was selected to the second round. Now in the second round, I had two people from Cisco, one from the India office that is at New Delhi, and one from the headquarters that is San Jose, who were extremely senior people with around 15 plus years of experience. So they interviewed me on the technical aspects about data structures, algorithms, then a few projects from my CV, etc. So the most important and the most unique point that I felt about this is that they I have a project on I told you I've done a project about autonomous drivers and systems. So I use the technologies that were offered by Intel for this project. So Cisco employers asked me, my interviewers, that okay, you've done a great job in your internship. So now tell me, since you are aspiring to join Cisco, tell me which Cisco technologies would you have liked to use in this project, or which Cisco technologies do you think would have matched with your requirement of technical tech stack that you were requiring for this project. And that's when you come to know why you need to know the company well. This might be a blank question for any of the person who has not studied the company background, because they don't know any other technology that might be helping them. And if you don't know, be honest in that case. They tell them that I might research. I will do a bit of research and let you know in the if we ever get a chance to interact again. And then I told them about, and they were quite impressed by that. There was also a unique question in this process where they stated that, tell me the three important aspects of your project that you might be able to, that you might want to explain to a layman person so that he understands your project completely without using any technical aspects. So that shows you your ability to, distribute your knowledge among people who don't have any technical knowledge. How clear you are with your project. That's a very important aspect. Now I cleared the technical round. Fortunately, I was, after the technical round, I got a message that, oh, congratulations, you have cleared the technical round. But I didn't have any, other email stating that what's next. Then it came as a surprise that Cisco actually has a new round that they have established since the year 2020, and that is the video application round. So what it is? I'll give you, a brief about that. Many companies, I think, might be shifting to this in the coming times. So Cisco has partnered with different third-party hiring agencies, which give their websites for accessing the solutions of video applications. So there is a technology solution called as Montage, which Cisco owns. So on Montage, I was asked to. There were 9 different questions that were given to me, both technical, non-technical, etc., from managerial aspect as well. And I was asked to record my video experience, in 3 minutes. And the amount of retakes that you can take is only 4. In total, for all 9 questions, you can take only 4 retakes. So you need to be clear before hitting that start record button. I recorded all my answers live, answered all those 9 questions within 3 minutes, and with the help of all the technical aspects, non-technical aspects, etc., and submitted that. And that is a new round that has been introduced in any of these new companies. So keep in mind, start practicing with that as well. Then the third round was the HR round, where my recruiter contacted me, and it was a sort of a brief discussion where they told me about what the company, how the program is actually designed. So let me tell you a bit about my role. You all might have seen what role I have been offered in my offer letter, which is technical undergraduate intern. But this is a global internship that I am going through. So we all are people from all across the world. There are around 1,700 interns that Cisco has recruited this year. And we all are a part of the hashtag We Are Cisco family. And what what we are going to be doing is that we would be working on different business solution domains, and we would be offering different solutions in that, working on different projects. So my recruiter told me about the role that I had applied to, what all they are expecting in this. And from that, he asked me a few questions, like the very common, those weren't the very common questions, like where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, etc. Those weren't those typical questions. Those were, why do you choose Cisco? Why did you choose Cisco over the other companies? Or why do you think that Cisco is the number one workplace? So Cisco has been the number one workplace in the entire world for the past 3 years consecutively. That is 1920 and the first quarter of 21 as well. So this what inspired you to choose Cisco? And these answers are very typical. These are very typical questions, and you should be able to prepare these answers for all the companies that you are applying to. And where do you find these answers? It's on their website itself. You find a lot of technical things that they are doing. You might find an area of interest which you feel like you should apply to, and you go ahead. And then after the HR round, I waited for a week or so, and after that, there was a big background check that happens. So all these big companies take all your documents. So I was asked to submit a set of around 11 or 12 documents. And after that, there is a agency that does your background check. So be sure whatever you present to them is 100% authentic, so that you know the time and the duration of your internship, etc., so that they are able to validate the process very well. And after that, I waited for a week or so, and then I got my letter of intent. So my letter of intent was the biggest wow moment, in my life, where they told me that they intend to hire me, and within a day or two, the APAC, that is the Asia Pacific and Australia region head, university recruiting head, would send me my offer letter. And then came my offer letter within a day or two. And I still remember the date. It's 6th of May at 5 p.m. I got my offer letter, and it was a big, the biggest moment of my life, you can say, because being able to apply and crack the off-campus internship at such a big company was literally a dream come true for me. And from that moment, I realized that there were many experiences that brought me up to this stage, that many failures in the previous interviews, etc., that, challenged me to move ahead in order to crack this company. And I guess I've shared my experiences with you in a way that you will be able to. So now I think we are open for questions. If there are any queries that you would like me to answer specifically, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Vedant Ghodke. You can message me, we can connect, and I'll be glad to answer your queries over there. So thank you.
Okay, so Vedant, Akash had a query regarding technical round 2. Could you please go over that again?
Okay, just let me go through his
query.
query.
Questions in the chat box. We'll answer some of them.
Okay, so let me just go through his query. I am not able to find where he is. Okay. So for technical round 2, okay, most of the companies do not have technical round 1 or 2 separately. Some companies do have technical round 2. Now, keep in mind that tested you for your technical round 1. So in technical round 2, generally they ask you questions in depth about your CV or your projects. In technical round 1, they test you out on the aspects of DSA, coding, etc. It depends upon different recruiters how they go. It even depends upon the different rounds of the same company. So for example, in Goldman Sachs, I know that for technical round 1, you have questions only based on your technical knowledge. They don't even look at your CV during that. But in technical round 2, you do get questions about different projects that you have done on your CV. Okay, Varun, could you just read out the questions, because I'm finding it hard. It's scrolling down very fast.
Yeah, sure. So Yash asks, during the coding round, which language did you write your code in?
Okay, so for Cisco, I had a choice of 3 rounds, that is C, CPP, and Python. But CPP version 14 was asked, and I wasn't well versed with that version, so I intended to go for Python. And for Python, I coded out both the questions in Python itself, Python 3.
Okay. Devang asks, as a first or second year student, what should he be doing right now? What should he be working on to follow your path?
Okay. So for a first or a second year student, the most important thing is you have lots of time to sharpen up your skills. So whilst doing different types of internships, try to focus on object oriented programming languages, different data structures. I will be making a list of resources that I used shortly, and I will share it with ma'am as well, so she can circulate it with you. So what that includes is a few resources from where you can learn about DSA concepts in depth. So try to always to focus more in the first and second year so that you have a golden future in third and fourth year. Now let me, since you are from first and second year, let me give you the recent example. Yesterday Microsoft has posted a new update just for 2023 pass out students. You can go on the Microsoft careers webpage, you can check it out over there. It's only for second year students, where they'll be training you with the open opportunities for Microsoft candidates. Now, to answer your question in short, just focus on OOP and DSA so that you sharpen up your technical skills till then and find good internships.
Okay, so Ashish asks whether development or competitive coding is better. What's your opinion?
See, Ashish, it depends upon what is asked or which company you're applying to ultimately. But have a layer of both. Only competitive coding won't definitely help you. I'm sure. I'm telling you that because even if you clear the coding round in your technical interview, if you start using competitive coding aspects, I've seen interviews where the recruiters straight away tell you to stop using these competitive coding practices and go to the classic or legacy coding practice. So avoid using competitive coding in these bigger companies because you might not be able to explain what you did to the recruiter. They are not competitive coders, they are legacy coders. So try to explain the code in the way in which they understand.
Okay, now we can take some questions by unmuting your mic. So just raise your hands if you'd like to unmute your mic. We can start with Advait.
Yes, I wanted to ask what language did you made perfect in first year, and how many projects should be there in our minimum project should be there in our CV?
Okay, that's a good question actually. So let's focus on, you asked two questions, so let's focus on each question. One thing with programming language, as I said, any object-oriented programming language works. Once you get a flair or a good grip on object-oriented programming language, you also should shift to at least one scripting language. So in my case, I had perfected Python in first year because I was introduced to that as a part of college curriculum, and I started learning it on my own, and then I tried to perfect it. But you can go for any language such as CPP or Java, etc. And in terms of projects, there is a thing called as key capstone projects. Okay, so if you've done say 10 projects over a span of 2 to 3 years, you should actually be able to filter out or sift out important projects that you feel are important to you. That might be just one project, but one project might have a great impact. In my case, on my CV, if you go to my LinkedIn page, I have 4 key projects that I've put because I feel that I've worked on 4 important projects in my life, which might have a very important impact on the recruiters. But in your case, it might be just one big project where you might be the driving force behind that, and you brought it to great success. That might help you. But be well versed with the project that you've done.
And also, do they expect from us an unique project which is not yet made, or we can also go with the projects that are already existing?
See, there are 2 things about already existing projects. One is using the ready-made projects that have already been made, or using the titles of legacy projects. For example, face recognition is a very common project that I see on many CVs. But face detection using some new technology or a combination of 2 different technologies is a unique project. Though the title is not so unique, is a project that you have designed, fabricated, you have coded it out, and that gives you a sense of satisfaction. And for that sole reason, I'm saying use your own GitHub repository to maintain your code versions. Any version control website always helps in the interview rounds because they check out your GitHub links as well.
Yes, thank you.
So Pushkarar has a question about which resume building website did you use?
Okay, so as I said, I'll just share my resume builder website's link in the chat box. I have built my own resume builder because the sole reason being all of the good ATS compliant resume builders are paid, and I didn't want to pay, so I ended up building my own resume builder. And what happened in that is that I initially had just one page where I could model my own CV, but now I've expanded it into different categories. So if you go to that page, you can see there is a standard resume and then there is a modern resume. So in standard, you have the tabular format, etc., where you can put up your academic details, technical skills, etc. And in the modern resume, you have a column on the left where you can put up your certifications, key skills, etc. So you can use my resume builder to build. It's an ATS compliant resume builder. So you would be able to, any resume clearing round, you would be able to clear it through this. Yeah, any more questions?
I don't see any more questions here, and I think we are also out of time. So
Okay.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining this meet, and also Vedant for imparting his knowledge to us and helping us a lot.
I guess there are a few questions coming in. Do
Okay,
we answer them?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay, so does certificates add more value? As I said, the quality and the amount, the what certification you do adds more value. So let me tell you, in my second year, when we were given access to the certifications, I did IBM certifications, which were actually professional certifications for AI and data science. I guess that helped me in my Microsoft internship as well. So choose your certificates wisely, certifications wisely, and put them on your internships. I guess there is one question. Jen Sanskar, what is your stipend? Okay. My stipend currently is total 60,000. That is 50,000 of internship stipend and 10,000 of travel allowance. But what this stipend actually varies from different companies to companies. So Cisco is the industry leading stipend payer. But don't go behind stipends at this stage. Go behind the experience. Money always comes in with your talent. Okay, how do we know which company is hiring and which company to focus on? Okay, Abhijit, that question. So as I said, try to spend at least week to go through the company careers website. And I'll also give you one more option. There are if you go on LinkedIn and if you type internship, there are many pages that people have created where they keep posting internship opportunities about different companies. They have their own Telegram and YouTube, WhatsApp groups as well. You can join those. You'll get periodic updates for that. I don't know how these guys bring up these updates from different companies, but it's quite helpful. Sir, on which topics the DSA questions were? Okay, so DSA questions generally, differ from different aspects, such as the basic data structures, such as maps, heaps, etc., up to different networking questions as well. It depends, again, as I said, on the company that you are applying to. In terms of fintech companies, you also require a bit of DBMS because you need to have good knowledge about databases. Can we send two CVs for the same company? Depends upon the role that you're applying to. Never do that actually, because they see that you are quite, you don't want that. If you're applying for two different roles, use which are in two different domains, use different CVs. Don't a confused person. Okay. What kind of questions were asked in video application round? Okay, good question, Amey. So I had 9 questions. A few of them were on the technical aspects, such as I said, there were a few DSA questions itself which were given, and I had to explain them orally without writing a single algorithm, without writing a single code. What would my approach be? So, for example, if say I have an example, so I have to run a loop. So I say I will run this loop from a for loop from I is equal to 0 to I is equal to n minus 1. I incremented each time, and then I would print out the variable j. So you need to explain this. So the verbal ability of your explanation is also taken care of. Yes, how to get pop from big MNC. I didn't get your question. Subscribe from there. What should be the
I
roadmap for
think he's
4
asking
branches in
PPO.
engineering and applied? Oh, okay. Okay. PPO from big MNCs. Okay. The PPO is a very controversial subject, because what happens is in big companies mostly the conversion rate of internship to PPO is 100% in most of the bigger companies. For Cisco, it is around 75 to 85%. So around, you can consider that it's around 8% that the into a PPO, but that might not always be the case. So it solely depends upon your performance, how well you perform. The better you perform, the better opportunities you get, the better package you get for a PPO. Apply as year first year, as we don't have that much of knowledge. Yes, Hassani, if I'll give my own example, I had done an internship in my first year at SAP Business One and Hewlett Packard Alliance in my first year of summers. Okay, so during that time I was practicing Python, and that helped me a lot because I developed a Python, Blaster, WhatsApp Blaster API that was to be integrated with the SAP software, and I got the opportunity to present that to the APC head, that is Asia Pacific head of SAP. So you never know what opportunities you might get in the first year. Don't lose hope. During vacation after 4 sem, should we do internship or work on sharpening our technical knowledge? Okay, so Mansi, working at an internship in itself, choose an internship so that you can do both the things simultaneously. If you aren't able to get an internship as such, do both. Pour in some extra time sharpening your skills, because companies that actually change shape your career come in the 3rd year, and it's better that you are well with the technologies that we from an SY student applying for internships. I know that you don't have a lot of technical knowledge, and the companies too don't expect it. So as I said, check out the different websites. Right now I gave an example of Microsoft. Go on their website, check out the open role, what are they expecting, and try and apply for that role. See what the job responsibilities are, see what the JD is. That in that way you'll get to know what these big companies expect. Okay. I guess we're done with questions.
No, I had one question. Can I?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm in first year, and I have learned Python, and I'm also bit done with only some basics of machine learning. So can I get some internship somewhere with this knowledge?
Okay, so sure. I mean, in first year, if you're having a good hand on machine learning and Python, you definitely might be able to grab at least a good internship opportunity first year. But you need to also keep in mind that the more you go into the depths of only one technological aspect, the more you are making your CV less and less. You're making your CV very sparse to choose. The reason being, you have a very narrow technical aspect or a technical expertise. That makes it very hard for recruiters in the later stages. So what I suggest is that since you are in your first year, get a good experience of what an internship is, how it works initially, and then try to sharpen your skills through your upcoming semesters.
But I have not even built a single project on machine learning and Python. So here also
Yeah.
I don't get any scope to get internship.
Keep in mind, otherwise, right? Keep in mind you're in first year, so they don't expect a capstone project from you at this stage. They know what to expect from a first year student. You having knowledge of machine learning, some knowledge that you are able to explain, okay, not just saying that I have knowledge. You should be able to explain the algorithms, etc. If you have that much enough knowledge to crack, then the recruiter or an interviewer or any person that you're approaching for, they might be more than happy to offer you an internship. They are looking forward to people they can organizations, okay, and you are a perfect person for them since you have 3 years worth grooming off.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hello, good morning, Vedant.
Yes, sir.
This is Savan sir here, and nice to hear from you. It was very encouraging and valuable information that you have shared with your own experience, and you are learning all that to the students. And it's nice
Thank you,
to
sir.
see the way you are doing. Okay, and it gives a lot of pride for us being a teacher for you. That's okay. One small point which I would like to uh, request rather you to tell the students, as far as in fact you might have already been explaining that to the students because I was busy with some other work, how they should keep their approach being first year students. So what sort of approach and attitude that they should have to develop as far as looking towards the internship is concerned? Okay, because
Right.
we all know that they may not be having those all required skill sets and all those things which are generally looked by the companies. So even though how they can try to, they should try looking for the opportunities and in what way they can go. Basically the approach, the attitude, and what sort of things that they should try to develop themselves right from first year. Okay, so I would
Right.
like to please give a little bit idea about that to the students, of first year students especially.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this question. I'm actually quite humbled that my first year professor, who has been a witness to all my internships, all my success stories, my failures, etc., is here to share my biggest achievement with me. Okay, so I'll answer his question. For all the first year students who are present here, first of all, keep in mind that you are at an institute, that is VIT. So you always have a upper hand in as compared to all the other institutions who might be applying to these roles. Now you might have heard from people that your CGPA doesn't matter a lot in these big companies, etc., etc. But keep in mind, your CGPA is the first step to your screening from these big companies. So as long as you are very serious at college, as long as you keep a good track of your academics and a good approach over there, and keep maintaining your CV, you are good to have a good CV. In terms of approaches, I guess we have an excellently moduled syllabus at VIT where you get to learn the things that are required by the industry standards today, where you learn all the soft skills, the hard skills, etc. In soft skills, these skills actually you won't appreciate them at this stage, but they are very important when it comes to your HR round of the internships or interviews. So keep an approach in mind that whatever you are learning in the coming 4 years, be like a sponge. Absorb everything and anything and everything that comes your way. Discard all the bad things. Just take all the important learning aspects. Uh, from the technology perspective approach, what you should keep in mind is never keep in mind a single role that you want to apply to right from first year. Always be open to work on any role. So if you see my CV, it has been quite a vivid up and down in my first, second, and third year. In my first year, I did my internship in software development engineering, and that was for development of Python blasters and API integration. That was in my first year. So and in my second year, I got the after the pandemic, all the internships were virtual. So we started with a good approach to apply for all the companies that were coming our way. So in my terms, I applied to Microsoft. I was quite lucky enough to have got selected over there, and in that I developed a certain approach where I need to keep a very technical and open mindset. I saw many people during my times that they were only focusing upon the aspects where they whatever they are doing in itself is a big thing. Never, you always should keep in mind that if you are the most intelligent among the people in the room, you are in the wrong room. You should always try to compare yourself, start interacting with seniors, your second year, third year people, so that they guide you over there, and that's the best approach that you can maintain in first or second year. Then the third is you should have good enough hands-on practice so that you do have, whenever you start learning a single language, try and practice it out on code editors, notepads, Google Docs, etc. Right from the first year, because habits are such things that need to be developed over these many years. You can't just go around in one day, practice one day before 300 pages of DSA and crack an internship. That's a very important aspect. Third thing, sit down with your parents, discuss what your career aspirations are. Sit down with your career counselors. We have Dr. Sheaskar ma'am, who's an excellent career counselor for all of us. You might sit down with her, or explain your aspirations with her, and she might be able to guide you in a very, robust way, so that you are able to apply for internships or for further education in that aspect. Keep that in mind, and try and target good certifications, a good GitHub profile, good GitHub repos, good LinkedIn profiles, etc., so that it helps you a lot. Okay. Savant sir, I guess
Thank
I've
you.
given.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great. Good. It was nice explanation from you. And in fact, I know when that first year internship when you were doing, they were shortlisting the students. Okay, where you have applied, I think. And there
Right,
were
sir.
some other groups who were they were seniors. That means where that place where you applied, you told me that they were third or fourth year students. Okay, but
Right.
because you were having you were also able to join with them because you were having very good command on Python programming. Okay, so that was the plus point. That was, even though you were from first year, you were able to work with them because you have lifted yourself to that level as far as that particular skill set is concerned. I think, am I right? What is this?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely right. Sir, in fact, all that plays a good role is good communication skills, your learnability curve, and how you're able to stand out of the crowd. So there, say all
Correct.
these students, you should always keep in mind you're not the only applicant. For Cisco, let me tell you, there are 700 interns who were selected out of nearly 15,000 to 20,000 applications each year. So you are just one drop out of that big, sea of students that is applying. So what makes you stand out? What makes you prove your skills is your CV, your communication skills. Whatever you do in your 4 years, do it sincerely, wholeheartedly, and it might help you crack it. And for all the aspiring, people from my age, my batch, etc., you guys have already, learned a lot. So it's now time to, sharpen up your axe and cut the tree down so that you are able to reap the fruits.
Correct. Okay, thanks a lot. Nice explanation, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Savant sir.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you for coming here and appreciating Vedant. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you very much, ma'am, for you. You are always a guiding to all the students. That's great.
Thank you, sir. So, Varun, I guess we can conclude. We have exceeded our time. So, it was a very engaging session by Vedant. Varun, maybe please propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, ma'am. So to begin with, I'd like to thank Vedant for guiding us on numerous topics related to internships and how we should work towards it. And I'm certain that it will help every one of us here. And we hope to achieve what you've achieved today. And I'd also like to thank everyone else for attending this session. And with that, I think we can close it now.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, everyone. All the very best from my end to all of you. As I said, you can always reach out to me for any doubts, and I'd be willing to help you. I hope my session helped you in some or the other way at a very personal level. Looking forward to meet you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll be posting this video on the channel that we have, careers channel that we have, and we'll be sharing the link with the students.
Sure, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you. Now I'll end this call. Vedant, is it okay if I end the call now?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. Thank you.
Chalo, bye. Thank you, Vedant. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.